You're listening to the Communications Business Advisor Podcast, the podcast for communications professionals in the corporate world who are committed to advancing their work and our field's reputation as critical business advisors that are not only invited to the decision-making table, but are required there. I'm your host, Tara McDonough. Welcome to another episode of the Communications Business Advisor Podcast. This is your host, Tara McDonough, and I'm here for another episode with you all. Here's what we're talking about today. I just need for you all to know that you're probably not crazy. One thing I hear from communications professionals often, and I mean maybe once a week, is, am I crazy? Or ... And then, with those three dots, insert whatever wild thing that person's been asked to do by someone else who's very confident in the request. And I use that request word lightly. It's more like a demand. Communications leaders are often told to do tasks from others who have such gravitas and confidence in the request that the communicators often think, is this something we do in our field? Am I just thinking of my job wrong? Is this something I'm supposed to know how to do? So, let me tell you, you are not alone, and you are most likely not crazy. I've said it before and I'll say it again. We work in a field that is wildly misunderstood and oversimplified. Now, in the olden days, those requests I'm talking about could often come in for admin-oriented tasks like, can you create a poster about hand washing in the bathrooms? Or, we need someone to take notes in this executive meeting. Can you come in and then report out meeting minutes to everyone? And some of these are actually the wildly frustrating ones because they're actually hard to redirect someone to, because who actually is responsible for bathroom signs? I remember in my first job in a corporate environment, when I made the jump from agency to corporate, I was inundated with random requests every single day that seemed like they weren't comms tasks, but what was I supposed to do with them? And my boss didn't know either, by the way. When someone told me that they wanted to update their voicemail message, I thought okay, cool, but that's not a me task. So who is it? The IT department, I'm guessing, but do I just send them to IT? Is there someone specific? I just know that it wasn't me that's responsible for that. It took time, I remember joining the corporate environment, to just figure out how to navigate the random, how to help people in these scenarios when they just assume that it's the corporate communications department's job. Yeah, no, it's not. And yet, Corp Comms becomes a dumping ground for randomness, and we play whack-a-mole pushing people back. Some comms pros want to do roadshows to communicate what you do and don't do, but no one will listen, and you'll sound self-important if you do that. And then also, you'll still get the random requests. So it won't solve your problem, but it will take more of your time, and it can actually harm your reputation. But just in case you hadn't heard it before, bathroom signs and taking notes in meetings, not your job. Neither is editing every individual at your company's emails or creating all of their PowerPoint presentations, and so on and so on. The best piece of advice I have for navigating the crazy, the random, is to make note of them and then ask someone who's been there a really long time. Admins are heroes in this way, in my view. They're heroes in a lot of ways, but in this way, they're fantastic. Because they also get the random requests, and they're well equipped to help you redirect. They know who the people are who are responsible for those things. So make friends with the admins. But again, note these random requests when they come in so you can communicate with your boss with them at some point if you need to, or at least just make a note so that you can laugh about it in the future. So in short on this, you're not crazy. Just know you're not crazy. And then outside of these random requests, there are what I call the lazy or the incompetent requests. These are the ones that are tasks any human working in a corporate environment could do, but instead of doing them, they ask you or your team to do them. Like PowerPoint presentations to 25 people about a project they're leading, or editing an email to a vice president's own team about a project update, or even a departmental holiday party. 'Tis the season. Yo, my friends, we are not party planners. You'll most likely run across a response at some point from these people when you tell them, no, that I can't help you with that. they'll reply at some point, someone will, with, I can't believe you won't help me with this presentation within my department that's intended to go to 10 people, or what other random thing that they want you to help with. They'll be incensed. Don't let that shake you. I can believe it. I can believe you can't help with those things. And the response to those statements, well, I'll just tell you what I do. I like to tell them that I know that they don't intend it this way, and it's uncomfortable for me to say this, but I need to share with them that I feel disrespected when they say that. Then I ask them when the last time was that I asked them to do the work that's part of my regular role, like write emails to my team, or write the CEO's executive speech, or develop a thought leadership campaign for the chief innovation officer, or whatever else is on my plate and my team's plate. Point out the high-level work I'm doing, and then share that I don't question, this is the key part, I share that I don't question what they're working on in their department. So why do they feel it's appropriate to question what I'm working on in mine, with me knowing the resources that I have and the priorities that I have for the company based on business goals? Now, I might change that approach depending on the level of the person I'm talking with and my relationship with them. But I can tell you that I have had that conversation with people who are higher level than me, and yes, executives in an organization. I remember one time I told a CTO that I was disappointed in his behavior. And then I went on to give him the same statements that I just shared with you about not questioning his department. So why does he question mine? Was it risky? Yeah, I guess so. But I wasn't willing to allow myself or my team to be steamrolled, or to allow some story to go on about my department about not being helpful, or being the department of no, or not doing that task asked of me. You all know how I feel about orders, but I will say it again. We are not waitresses waiting to take your order. We are business advisors here to advance the business and protect the brand. Now, in that case, the CTO apologized to me and looked excessively embarrassed about it. We had a good relationship, so I was willing to tell him what I really thought. He fully supported my promotion the next quarter, and he told everyone around him that we need someone who's willing to put what's right for the business ahead of how we feel about ourselves when we appropriately get called out for our own BS. I remember that quote. And I loved it because it was true. And I got a lot of kudos from him because I was willing to say the hard thing out loud. Okay. So when you need to say no to some dictatorial requests because your gut tells you it's not a professional communicator task that rises to the level of something the team should focus on, you're probably spot on. You're most likely not crazy. But I get how it can feel like you need to question it. And there are times when you could shift your thinking about a request and you could approach it differently, to see it as an opportunity to weigh in on a business decision and guide that thinking as you consider the lens of the audience. Because outside of the admin or random requests and the lazy or incompetent requests, there are also the I don't know how to do the actual project requests. But they're not saying that out loud. They might not even know that they don't know how to do the project. These are the tasks that show that the business area requesting the communication doesn't actually know how to do the work involved. Not the comms, the project work. So they involve communication simply because the task or the project or the change needs to be eventually communicated. And here's the thing about that. We do have a role there. And though I know many of you might get frustrated with it because I can hear you thinking to yourself, do the plan, and I will help you with the communications plan. But we do need to be involved in here. And here's why. Well, let me start actually with a simple, super simplistic example of this. Though often these times when you're pulled in on these things, they're significantly more important. Here's how this simple example went. I got pulled in by a senior executive who told me he needs help communicating the new parking guidance to employees for off-site parking, which will then bring employees into the company on shuttles. But I very quickly learned that the guidance about how this would work hadn't been decided yet. Who gets to park in the attached garage and who parks in the off-site lot? He didn't know. How will you know if someone is qualified to park in the garage or not? He didn't know. How will you keep it updated? He didn't know. How often will the shuttles run? You guessed it. He didn't know. Neither did anybody on his team. Why? Because it wasn't decided. He just decided that it needed to be communicated. So the best thing you can do in these scenarios is, first of all, yes, you can laugh about it because it is ridiculous. But then go be the advisor you are, the business advisor you are. Yes, even when it comes to something like parking. And to be fair, employees can be very opinionated and up in their feels about where they park. Ask them questions that get them to see the decisions that need to be made. Then offer to come back when they figured out the answers to your questions. Or, if you feel strongly about it, sit in and advise them on what you think the decision should be and why. I'm often tempted to say in these meetings, again, like you guys, give me your plan, and I'll give you a communications plan. But the reality is they need us as business advisors. Otherwise, they get paralyzed on next steps and they push for comms when decisions aren't even made yet. And then they just get frustrated. And with you there, you're uniquely thinking about how things will go down with an audience. We don't think about it in a silo like most business areas do. Here's another example. A tech department might want to communicate a change about a Microsoft update that will affect employees. And at the same time, HR, they want to communicate a change happening to the benefits system. Meanwhile, finance is announcing a new tech protocol for entering budget requests. But to the audience, in this case, the employees, they are all systems changes requiring new or different action from the employees. So it's not an HR change, it's not a finance change, and it's not an IT change. It's an employee change. It must be coupled together for the employees to see and understand it. No one else uniquely sees it the way that you do. No one else sees it the way comms professionals see it. You think it's logical, but it's a unique superpower. So when you're in the room and you're asked to draft a message about the new budget system, instead you tell them that you're going to couple it into a systems change message so it doesn't get lost with the employees. They'll lose sight of it otherwise. The finance lead might push back on you thinking that they need their own message. We need our own separate message. The thing is, the unsaid thing here is that they're pushing internal PR that they'll get for advancing this new, more efficient system because they want to ensure that the CEO sees it's now rolled out. Yeah, as long as you know that that's the unspoken thing, you can navigate it. You might talk with them about reporting back adoption rates to the CEO and the executive team and how that will be more important to them than sharing the message that goes out as a separate message is more critical. As an example, you can get ahead of it, right? Navigating the personalities and the unspoken, it's just as critical as applying your comm skills. You got to look at what's not being said. Just like you put yourself in the shoes of the audience who will receive the message, put yourself in the shoes of the executive or whomever it is requesting the message and answer their need in a way that won't make you lose the audience with over-communication that then leads to tune out. Now, again, these examples are pretty generic and vanilla, but they apply to the complex too. Complex issues like, let's say, acquisitions. You might hear that a comms plan is needed for an acquisition. Let's hope that you hear it, right? Let's hope that you hear it before the acquisition happens. Yes, you need to handle the immediate comms of the acquisition. Let's say you're leading corporate communications, PR, and internal. You need to figure out what you need to tell investors, regulators, public officials, customers, partners, stakeholders, media, all of the above. You dig into the questions to get clarity, and you also ask questions about things no one else is thinking about. Questions that address both the immediate announcement and the work that will follow. Will the company maintain their brand or not? Will there be staff changes? Are they legally going to run as a subsidiary or not? Are there union employees involved? Are they on the same IT systems as you, and how will you communicate with the new employees? When will they transition to your benefits, or will they, and so on? And some of this is really important to know up front. Some of it is important to know that they need to start thinking about these things. Listen, you know what this job is. Don't let anyone gaslight you. Resist that gaslight. You're not crazy, but you are often alone. You and your small team or large team with you as the most senior leader, and you're surrounded by people who assume they know what you're responsible for, or that you should know how to do something that is entirely not a communicator's role. That's why so many people value the Communications Business Advisor Council program I offer, because You hear how you're not crazy, and better yet, you get ideas on how to navigate these things to ensure it doesn't become a problem for you. Because it easily could, with so many people weighing in on whether you're doing a good job or not, which please tell your bosses who don't work in comms before you start working with them that you're in a misunderstood and oversimplified role. And to support you in that role, to do the actual work that will advance the business, you'll need their backup and their buy-in. That you will do whatever you can to build and maintain relationships, but that there will be times that people superior to you will not like your guidance or your advice, and you'll need them as your boss to back you up and not let it bite you later on when you're doing something like performance evaluations, because it could if you don't have that buy-in from them in advance. So push for it. So in the council program that I talked about, we will talk regularly about what's going on in your world, what pushes you have on your time, what expectations are coming in from leaders, what challenges you have with your team, and even what complex crisis issues, strategy questions, and implementation or measurement challenges you're up against. I've had clients tell me it's helpful to know that they're not crazy, that it's been really helpful to have another person to get new ideas from, and to help them navigate the chaos with real-world examples of what they could do next, to have another strategic mind on this work with them so they're not so alone. And so they can make changes within their department and their company that helps them, their teams, and their companies. So anyway, let me share this with all of you one last time. You're not alone, and you're not crazy. Okay, that's enough for this week. In case you missed it, don't forget to sign up for my new exclusive Level Up, Be Extra emails. It's key messages for the elite few who want even more content to advance themselves and our field as critical business advisors. We'll put the link in show notes. And we'll be back again one more time before we take a holiday break. But if you have an idea for an episode on something you'd like to hear more about, send it my way. Until then, keep advising, my friends. If you're interested in working with me to advance your work and your team's reputation as critical business advisors, never order takers, check out TaraMcDonough.com. Thanks for listening to the Communications Business Advisor podcast. If you found this episode helpful, please leave a rating or a review. It helps people find us, and we can't ignite a movement without sharing the message. See you next time, where we'll continue to do the work to elevate our field's reputation and elevate the careers of the people in it. The Communications Business Advisor podcast is brought to you by Raise the Tide, the program for women communications leaders and emerging leaders working in the corporate environment. Raise the Tide is part community, part coaching, part professional development, and part mentorship. The program advances women in their careers and activates these trailblazers to advance our vision of a corporate world that not only invites communications leaders to act as critical advisors, but expects them to. A rising tide raises all ships, but we're not the ships. Together, we're the force of the tide, raising the ships for our entire industry. For more information, visit www.raisethetide.net.